Hey guys, Marsing here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so as we move towards the end of October, the hype is starting to build already for the Dragon Ball Heroes collab slash crossover with Dokkan Battle. You guys see me talking about it all the time. I push the hashtag Heroes agenda. I've said this before, but the hero celebration outside of the anniversary, and obviously sometimes the worldwide download celebration as well, I guess, to be fair, the hero celebration is the most exciting time in the game for me. I am a big fan of Heroes, whilst obviously I don't play the physical game because, you know, the arcade machines are only in Japan. I've always been a big fan of some of the other forms like Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, and seeing characters get those forms that didn't get them before and things like that, which, you know, when I was young growing up with Dragon Ball, all of that stuff was literally just like fan art that people made, and that was it, right? Those things did not exist in any sort of official capacity, and now because of Heroes we get to see a lot of this like crazy stuff in game, right? So it'll be interesting to see what the new units are going to be that come out. Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito is soft confirmed, I want to say, just based on the pattern they've been following for the last couple of years. But we're not going to talk about the units today. We are going to get a teaser in a live stream coming up fairly soon as to what the units could be. So I'm going to go into talking about the units a bit more in the future. But today I wanted to talk about some of the events that we could possibly see that could make this year's Heroes celebration the best one yet, because they keep introducing new things, they keep ramping things up, and I mean even Dokkan in general lately, they've been doing things differently, introducing a bunch of new things, so I have no reason to believe that their Heroes is not going to be another example of the same thing. So going down the list here, we're going to have a look all the various things, right? So last year, for example, we got Easy Ace for the first time. We got a purchasable stone so that you could pick certain units. Obviously, there's always story events as well. And the year before, we also had this new event, which essentially this was just a Heroes Infinite Dragon Ball History stage. It was a similar difficulty level, similar format, but it isn't available outside of the Heroes celebration. It even says on the wiki. I'm trying to remember if it was available during last year's Heroes celebration, which if it wasn't would be kind of weird, because it's the only time it's available. And obviously there are some missions. I mean, you're basically just getting some stones, but like an Infinite Dragon Ball History stage, you do get a nice little chunk of stones out of doing it. So it would be nice to see not only this come back, but also for them to add a second or even third stage. Because in the first stage, you fight against all the hero units that were out at the time that were related to the Time Patrol. They could easily add a second stage where you fight a bunch of extreme units related to the Dark Demon Army, or even things like the core area warriors from that part of the promotional anime with like hearts and the eye patch Zamasu, is it Kamin and Oren or something like that, the Tuffle like ones. There's a whole bunch of characters that have not yet appeared in the game at all that could make good like bosses for these kind of story events. So would very much like to see this get added, you know, have this return, have a new stage, and I think that would be pretty cool. So as I already said, we got our first Extreme Z battle for Heroes last year. We should be getting another one this year. People have been posting images of the batches of units. 7 units all got an Easy A in one go. And some of these units, even still now, are very usable, especially the ones that have 200% teams. This year we're going to get the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta, the Dark Mask King and Black Mask Saiyan, Supreme Kai of Time, Physical Demon Demigra, who's going to make AGL Mechikabra absolutely pop off. So the one thing we don't have yet, though, that I think would be very good for them to introduce for the first time this year round, is we do not have Easy A's for the free-to-play units, which would obviously come in the form of an Extreme Z area. But when we look at some of these older free-to-play units, there's like the base form Kumba, we've got the Great Saiyan Man 4, that obviously awakens from like the farmable beat unit. This Demon God Salsa is like super old, but again, could really do with an Extreme Z awakening. And all of these free-to-play units, you would assume they're going to get an Extreme Z area, right? They don't do like, you know, 30-stage Extreme Z battles for those kind of units. Last year we got the Demon Goddess Poutine. Obviously I wouldn't assume that she's going to get an Easy A because she's still too new, but this Salsa and the Kumba and the Beat, or Saiyaman 4, pretty much unusable in like the current content, right? So it'd be very cool for them to get an easy A. Like Cumbra is an infinite stacker, so give him an easy A with a decent amount of like starting stats and stuff, and then he could actually be a unit worth using in the longer form content. There's also Arms as well, who actually has the potential to be a really good support unit. He has big bad bosses, so he's definitely a unit that could have some value in the future if he gets an easy A. So we've got summonable easy A's. Give us Extreme Z area for the free-to-play units, and then some of those units could actually see some use again as well, which I think would be pretty cool. So the next one is, of course, Super Battle Road. Now, this one is a bit interesting because, obviously, with JP being ahead of Global, and the fact that we kind of follow like a sort of order for the release of these stages, so because Heroes is on both versions at the same time, it means Global just got Low Class Warriors as a stage. JP is up to Battle of Wits. So obviously a new one could come out on either one before the Heroes, but we'll just use this as an example. So if Heroes SBR came out on JP now, it would be level 64. But on Global, technically it would be 62. Now, they've done this in the past with Infinite Dragon Ball History, where they give it the appropriate number for Global, and then when the one that comes out that should have that number, they just change it. So it would come out on Global and it would be 62, and then when Artificial Lifeforms come out, it would change to 63, and then when Battle of Wits comes out, it would change to 64, which is a weird way of doing it. You would think they could probably just get away with it being 64, which would be weird when you look at the menu, that it goes from 61 to 64 until the other two come out. But a Heroes Super Battle Road would definitely be very fun. You guys know, if you've seen the video, obviously I used a full Heroes team to get the no item run on Time Travelers Super Battle Road. But there are a couple of Heroes units not on Time Travelers. It would be very cool to have a Heroes only stage. Now, I know for some people, obviously people out there who, you know, never summon on Heroes, you obviously would then not be able to do that stage. But so I don't know if that's a reason why they've never done a Heroes stage. Because obviously with only the free-to-play units, can you even make a full team? And then it would be very, very difficult to actually beat it. So I'm not too sure if that's maybe a reason why they haven't done one, but I would definitely love to see a Heroes Super Battle Road stage, and obviously that would be a perfect time to drop it during the celebration. So the other one, of course, is the Infinite Dragon Ball History. Now, we talked about the unique event that Heroes brought out, which basically was an Infinite Dragon Ball History. But considering last year for the Worldwide Download celebration, they brought out the collection of epic battles and then have never updated it, and we all just assumed once it got to a certain point that they were just only ever going to update that event during the Worldwide celebration. And then a year later, we got the newest Worldwide celebration, and they still didn't touch that event. So it still just sat there unchanged since over a year ago. So there is the possibility that they don't bring back that like Protect History event, and then they could just do a Dragon Ball History stage instead, right? So we go all the way up to stage 22, which is Extraordinary Super Warriors. They could release a Heroes one, and then essentially along the same lines of the way that other event was branded, you could either have it as like versus the Time Patrol, versus the Dark Demon Army, versus the Timebreakers, like however they want to do it, right? And then just have what is essentially a Heroes stage of Infinite Dragon Ball History. So whichever way they do it, whether it's this or whether it's bringing back this, I would like to see one of these kind of multi-stage long-form events, but with a Dragon Ball Heroes stage. I think that would be very cool. And then obviously the other interesting thing that the door is now open for is this event that came out during the Worldwide celebration, which I know a lot of people did not like the way it was structured because of the boosted units and stuff. But I've already talked about this before. Like, almost every single one of those stages has been beaten with like free-to-play teams. So whilst it's annoying, I guess, that it's harder without certain units, it's still doable. So, you know, like a bit of challenge here and there. But something like this for Heroes would definitely be interesting, because it could be split again between like the Time Patrol and the Dark Demon Army, so you can have different stages where like the different super or extreme units would get extra buffs, and then of course you can have these stages split up in various different ways, just like the Infinite Dragon Ball History or long form thing, where like one stage could be against a couple of members of the Time Patrol, one stage could be up against the bad guys. Like, you could easily have a stage of this event where phase 1, like if we look at this Earthbred Saiyan stage, the Heroes version of this, Stage 1 could be Xeno Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Xeno Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and then Stage 2 could be Xeno, well, it doesn't have to be Xeno, but Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. So, and there's many ways they could do this, like Stage 1 for versing against the bad guys, you could have like the lower level, like Demon Goddess Poutine, Demon God Salsa, Robel, then have the second stage be like Old Man Mechicabra, and then have the last one be Young Mechicabra, or you could have Fu and then Mechicabra, or the other way around. Like, either way, that would work out for these kind of thing, right? So, the idea is easily there for the stages. Now, I really did like this stage where you have to fight armies of Metal Coolers. I don't think there's like a Heroes version of that, but I do think that was cool. I'd love to see something else like this in the future. But yeah, a specific event with certain challenges specifically tailored to the particular Heroes setup, with various different missions to use certain units, I think would be very cool. And then obviously these skill orbs, you could get skill orbs that are specifically for Heroes units for beating it, which I think would be pretty cool as well. And then last but not least, the thing that I would love to see, which is obviously the thumbnail, which I think I did a pretty good job on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. But obviously we are now getting more Ultimate Red Zone stages with these big celebrations. So the anniversary obviously gave us Movies and GT, which was the first two. They came out at the same time. And then the worldwide celebration brought us the Wicked Bloodline edition. So I would absolutely love to see a Dragon Ball Heroes Red Zone for the release of the Heroes celebration this year. And as the Wicked Bloodline stage showed us from the worldwide celebration, they don't have to have 7 stages, because the first two obviously both have 7. So we kind of, you know, you could have been perfectly in your rights to assume that every set of Red Zone stages is going to be 7. But when you start thinking about potential themes for future like stages and stuff, it does make sense that like they're not always all going to be 7, because certain themed things you're not necessarily going to have 7 relevant like bosses or stages. But with Heroes, there are obviously quite a lot of options, even if they go for 5, even if they only went for 4, who knows, maybe 5 is the minimum that Akatsuki have decided. We obviously won't know until we get another one that potentially has more or less than 5. But when we go back to the Heroes list of characters, we've got like Toa, because Toa has numerous forms. Some of them are on crossover, not Heroes, but there's the Tech Toa that is like her proper base form. Then we have Darkness Toa, and then of course we actually have Demon Goddess Toa. So she has a couple of different forms. She could easily be a stage. Obviously Mechicabra is one of the big bads. Fu, and then obviously he's not in the game yet, but Dark, like King Fu, is one of the big bad guys as well. Sealess was one of the bad guys in the arcs, was it in World Mission, and actually in like the story event that we got. Obviously Kumba could be there. Super Saiyan 4 Broly, because if Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito is coming out, even if we don't get his card just yet, Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Broly could quite easily be a boss in the game. Stage 1 could be Super Saiyan 4, Stage 2 could be Limit Breaker, or they could even do, imagine if the final stage, right, because everyone loves the movie bosses one so much, imagine if they make the new hardest Red Zone stage Broly again. Except the way it works is like stage 1 is like Super Saiyan 3 Broly, and then stage 2 is Super Saiyan 4, and stage 3 is Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, looking at the extreme side, there obviously are a lot of characters. One of the stages could be like the Timebreakers, so you could have a bunch of the different masked units, Masked Saiyan, Dark Masked King, Black Masked Saiyan. You know, there's definitely some very interesting options that they could give us for bosses for a Heroes Red Zone. And then obviously when it comes to the reward, all of the Red Zones so far have given us a support memory that when you beat all of the stages you get it unlocked, that gives a permanent 10% buff to the relevant category. So obviously for Heroes, it would be for Dragon Ball Heroes. Now ideally, they would make it crossover, so it has a little bit of use for other characters. But yeah, I could definitely see it just being Heroes, which I would be perfectly fine with, and obviously that would make the Heroes team much more viable for more difficult content. Like, I definitely think we're getting a 200% lead for Heroes this year, but as we've seen with some of the 200% showcases that I and other people have been doing ever since they came into the game, a 200% leader skill is not enough to save a terrible old unit. But some of the older units that are just on the borderline, give them a 200% leader and then this permanent 10% support buff, and then some of them could actually see some play again. So I think that would be very, very interesting. So those are a bunch of things that I would love to see for this year's Dragon Ball Heroes celebration. Let me know what you guys think down below. If there's any things I didn't mention, what would you like to see? Or out of all the things that I did mention, which of those would be your favorites? Let me know down below in the comment section. And as I say, more Heroes videos to come as we get closer to and into the beginning of November. I am going to do another one of those videos of the I Ask Dokkan YouTubers to create their own custom celebration. I have sent out the messages and the list of things that I need to people for a Heroes version for this year. I did do one for the year before. And just like with every previous episode, I'm trying to have a new special guest Dokkan YouTuber that has not been on a previous episode, and I have already secured the appearance of the special guest for this one. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Let me know if you're hyped for Heroes, and yeah, hopefully we get some news very, very soon. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.